Hey guys, today we are going to name acids. They have normal names, but you can actually name them as an acid. And by normal, I mean usually you'll hear them hydrogen sulfite, hydrogen sulfate, hydrogen phosphate, hydrogen phosphide, things like that. They sound normal, but then you can name it hydrochloric acid, hydrocyanic acid, stuff like that. So we're going to work on both of those names and kind of make sense of what's going on. So these rules aren't too hard, so enjoy. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the 3 rules, and then we'll try a couple. So these are the 3 different rules we'll use. Your 8s, which are your sulfates, chlorates, anything that ends in 8, is going to become blankic acid. So that would be sulfuric acid or sulfic acid if you want to not add the UR back. Your ites become blankic acid. So if you think about anything that is an ite, you have sulfite, chlorite, phosphite, but you didn't have to remember phosphite. You don't really have a lot of ites. But anytime you have an ITE at the end, that is going to become blankic acid. So sulfurous acid, or sulfous acid as you might call it, phosphorus acid, anything like that. So the IDEs are most common. This is when, if you remember what has an IDE at the end, it's anything on the periodic table. They're always going to be your nonmetals that end in IDE. There's also 2 that you guys have to remember from your polyatomic ion sheet, which is hydroxide and cyanide. So anything that ends in IDE is hydroblankic acid. So let's go over a couple examples and make sense of this. First one we're going to look at, first of all, hydrogen is always first, by the way. I did want to make sure you know that. So the way to tell if it's an acid is hydrogen will always be first. And the reason why it's always going to be first is because all acids are actually dissolved in water. There's a lot of water in all your acids. So the hydrogens kind of show that. H2O, if you think about H2O, hydrogen is first. And that's the only one where hydrogen is first when it's not an acid. Only one. The rest of these will be acids. I know there's alterations to that, but for us, anything hydrogen is going to be an acid. So let's look at combining hydrogen and sulfur. Normal rules apply. It is an ionic compound. So hydrogen's charge is +1. Sulfur is -2. You crisscross. You get H2S. H2S. Now, you can name it normal. If you named it normal, H is hydrogen, S is sulfur, you drop the ending and get sulfide. So this will be hydrogen sulfide. I'm going to write that down even though that's not the answer. I'm still going to write it down. Hydrogen sulfide. So, let's look at our rules, see how we name it. It's not an 8, not an I, it's an IDE ending, sulfide. So, how do I name it? Hydroblankic acid. Hydroblankic acid. So, sulf goes in the blank. Whatever's in front of the IDE goes into the blank. It'll be the same every single time that you do an IDE. Now you have to be careful, there's no hydro when you're working with 8s and ites. So, I'm going to write down the answer. It's hydro sulfic acid. or hydrosulfuric acid. It's up to you. The only difference is I added the UR at the end. Realistically, some people will, some people won't. It's not a big deal one way or the other. Let's do hydrogen and chlorate. If you crisscross it, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so you'll get HClO3. HClO3. And to name it, hydrogen goes first. So you name it hydrogen. ClO3 is chlorate. So when we name it like an acid, 8s become blankic acid. Blankic acid. So, what goes in the blank? Chloric acid. That's what you get. You get chloric acid. Not too bad. The 8s become X. 8s become X. So, for argument's sake, let's try an ite and see what happens. When you crisscross, one-to-one ratio again. This is your hydrogen chlorite. So, ites become blankous acid. So, chlorus acid. And that's it. Not too bad. We're going to try just one more and see what we get. I hope that you would try this on your own before we show the answer. So, let's do a combination of hydrogen and cyanide. So go ahead and do that. Hopefully you push pause. Hydrogen is +1. Cyanide is -1. When you crisscross, 1-to-1 ratio, HCN. So to name this normally, it would be hydrogen is first. Cyanide. So ites become hydroblankic acid. So I add hydro in front of it. Hydro CYANIC. That's hydrocyanic acid. And those are your naming rules. If you have questions, stay after someday and I'll help you out one-on-one. Okay?